Dale of Rescue American Ministries, and we pick up, I think we got cut off kind of unexpectedly by my Nikon cool pix camera I was using. Yeah, I don't have a huge, expensive studio somewhere. I use, I've made the statement before, my studio is wherever it happens to find me when I'm able to make a video. And so we've just got back from Romania a few weeks ago, and we found us a place to rent. We're looking for a house. And so at any rate, that's where we're at right now. And so I'm using my Nikon, and my camcorder gave out on me until I got something else. I was going to try this, see how it works. Anyway, the 30 pieces of silver I talked about last week, or not last week, but the last program, and that was weighed out, and to pay Zechariah here, who had become the shepherd, and he gave up and threw the money back at them and in the temple, and they threw it to the potter in the temple. There it says, throw it to the potter, the lordly price at which I was priced by them. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of the Lord to the potter. Then I broke my second staff union, annulling the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. So talk about the staff named union. We mentioned before in the King James that word is bands, and it's one of those words that could be translated either way. In the English Standard Version, which I happen to be using today, and it's very close to the King James, but it's in modern English, and that's the reason I like it, because it's the language that I speak. It's the language that most people speak in America. Now, if you preference the King James, that's okay. I don't make an issue with me, because I happen to speak English, today's English. I do not speak King James English, so therefore it's hard to read sometimes. Now I say hard. I've read it for all my life mostly, so yeah, I know pretty much what it means, and every once in a while I have to go back and look up a few words here and there just to make sure. Concupiscence, who knows what that means today. And but the problem is not the words, and I didn't mean to get into that. Don't worry, I won't get onto that much. I'll just say this. It's not that there was something wrong with the King James Bible. It is the fact that the meaning of words change from 1611 until today, 2022. The meaning of many of the words used in the King James Bible have completely changed from what they meant when they were written at that time. And therefore, that's the reason it's much easier, for me at least, to use a modern translation. And so that's why I do. But I do point out that the King James does give the name of the staff, says beauty and bands. Well, favor and union. You stop and think about it. I mentioned that's the last time. Beauty connotes favor, or denotes favor. Bands. You put rubber bands around things to hold them together. That's union. So, even though it sounds like they're different meanings, they're really not. They have the same basic meaning there, and so just translated different ways. Now, I mentioned this before. I mentioned it one more time. I take up that much time with this, but words in the original Greek and original Hebrew, they can be translated numerous ways. If you look in some of the Greek concordances and things like that, and you'll see the different words that they can be translated to. One word could be translated to many different words in English, depending on how it is used in the context. And so, let's go on from there. And then the Lord said to me, take one more, this is verse 15, take once more the equipment of a foolish shepherd. For behold, I am raising up in the land a shepherd who does not care for those being destroyed, or seek the young, or heal the maimed, or nourish the healthy, but devours the flesh of the fat ones, tearing off even the hooves. Woe to my worthless shepherd who deserts the flock. May the sword strike his arm and his right eye. Let his arm be wholly withered and his right eye utterly blind. In other words, God said, I'm going to give you a shepherd. You know, you won't come to me. You won't return to me. You refuse. And you continue to go your own way in defiance. Then at one time, you go back and read Habakkuk. Now that was an earlier prophet, though. This is the latter time. Who came after this? The judgment that came, of course, was the 400 years of darkness. There's one book after Zechariah in the Old Testament, and that's Malachi. And then at the end of that, there was 400 years, no open revelation of God. And the period of history that followed was probably the worst in human history for the Jewish people, other than the Holocaust during the Nazi regime back in the last century. Many Jews were killed by Antiochus Epiphanes and others. They were caught in between Egypt and Syria, which would have been the Ptolemies and the Seleucids at that time. And so suffered greatly. At one time, the people complained and God heard their prayers. And he said, well, okay, I'm going to send a deliverance. I'm going to send judgment. Well, Habakkuk didn't like that because the judgment was going to be Nebuchadnezzar and his army. And they were going to come in and destroy. But in this case, God said, even those people that normally cry out for deliverance, they're not there. They're, I'm sure there were a few. You got Zechariah for one, but no one listened. And so God said, I'm not even going to listen to you. You don't heed me. You defy me. The whole nation is defying me. And of course, that came that period, and then after that, in around 64 AD, 70 AD, 70 AD, the Russians. Okay, getting into modern times here. You see what's on my mind. Just came back from Romania, which is next door to Ukraine, and we've been there for 3.5 years, so it's time to leave. And with God's blessing, I feel like, and at peace about that. But back to, I meant to say the Romans came and destroyed Jerusalem at that time. And so that takes us up to chapter 12, and that's where we'll start next time, with chapter 12 in Zechariah, and just a couple more chapters to go, and we'll be finishing up